Hello, I'm going to talk about a new drum kit that I have made from second-hand parts. It's a 6-tom kit with a 16-inch kick. It's all sort of second-hand reclaimed parts for the toms. There are two 10-inch, two 12-inch and two 14-inch toms. I'll come around this side so we can get a sweep of the kit. It's not a terribly wide angle lens. This is a Zoom Q3 camera that I'm using, but it should do. So the 10-inch toms have roughly kind of 4.5 inch depth, and the 12-inch are just slightly more than that, but still just under 5 inches. And then the 14-inch, they were cut down from a 14 by 14 tom. With all of them, it was either Tama or Mapex toms that we used. They were stripped of their coating, then sanded down, lacquered, stained, and then lacquered. So the 14s were a 14 by 14 that was cut not quite in half, so you've got two different depths, and all of them, so you've got two different depths. They were not quite in half. I'll show a bit closer. As you can see here, it looks slightly kind of reddy compared to the 14-inch toms, which are far more purple. I used exactly the same stain for both types of drums, and the 10-inch as well also have the slightly reddy hue. I think it's that, well, I know it was the different woods that we used which took the stain slightly differently. I had hoped for it all to be this nice purple of the 14s, but it didn't work that way, but you know, so it goes. But it does mean that the rack toms, as they were, effectively kind of match, and then the floor toms have these nice purple. One day I might have another go and source toms with the right type of wood to take the staining, but at the moment I will leave it as it is. You'll notice there is an eye painted. That's an obscure reference to the first band I was in with Jeremy Richardson of the John Hackett band in which I play. I'm also with Jeremy in a band called Postgate, and you will find more about that as we start doing more stuff. So the kit I have, as well as the toms, it may not be terribly interesting to anyone other than me, but I will talk about it anyway. This is a Miyazi Hollywood, or Miyazi Hollywood snare. It's rather like a Ludwig Supraphonic. It's a gorgeous thing that I got in 1988. It had some accidental damage. The original throw fell to bits in 1989, and I replaced it with this, which has a tension screw on it. But at the other side I also have a tension screw. This can make things complicated, but I like it anyway. The snare head is an Evans Genera Dry that was put on in 1994, just before I recorded the November album with Paley's Watch. And I haven't needed to replace it, so I haven't. I'll talk about the cymbals I have. I shall go round. The hi-hats are unbranded, that I bought in 1989, I think it was, for a princely sum of £25. A lot of my cymbals were bought in the late 80s and early 90s for the princely sum of £25. But I've always liked the sound. If you hear me on any recordings, it will be these hi-hats, and they come across very well recorded and live, so I use them. I have a pasty 400 China that I picked up for £40. It was in a sale at JB's Music when they were on St John's Road in Tunbridge Wells in the late 80s. I think it might have been 1990. I picked that up actually. Then I have a 20-inch Aveda Zildjian ride that has a lovely tone. This is one of my £25 cymbals. And quite a gorgeous clear bell on it. So I use that. Sometimes I use it for crashes and swells as well, which is nice. Then we have a Sabian beep. I know very little about the Sabian range. I imagine it was probably a budget cymbal, knowing the people from whom I bought it in 1990. No, it would have been 91 actually. But it's a good cymbal, does everything I need it to. Then here I have a splash that's it's better with a bit of a... That will have overloaded the input. That's an 8-inch splash, pleasant enough. Then here, this is a crut or krut, depending on how one wishes to play. It's half of a hi-hat pair, but makes a nice splash. It's a 12-inch. It was got as part of the kit from which the snare drum was purchased. It was a full Miyazi Hollywood kit. The snare was the best thing about it, and I love Miyazi kits, but in that particular instance the snare was the best thing. But it had these 12-inch hi-hats that were great for doing Glenn Miller type, but anything else they were pretty terrible. So I have another one like this, and it's old. Crut were, as I recall, distributed by Premier back in the 50s and 60s, but it makes a great splash. Then up here, we're just getting to my Zins. I'm a great fan of Zins, which were, again, as I recall, distributed by Premier through the late 50s, through the 60s, into the mid 70s. I have a huge sales poster in my flat of Zin that would have been from 72, 73. 5-star supers are the best, but this splash, it's an 8-inch splash, is a 2-star. I also have a 6-inch version of it as well, which is it's a bit sharp just on its own like that, but when you have a band playing or in a mix, it comes across fine. It's a lovely little splash. Then this is one of my favourite cymbals. It's a 16-inch crash ride. Zildjian, it's not Zildjian, Zin 5-star super. Next is another 5-star super Zin. I think this is super anyway. It's definitely 5-star. Where does it say? Oh yeah, here we are. 5-star super Zin. This is a 14-inch. I got this comparatively recently. The 16-inch was part of the kit that the snare drum came from, but this was a recent purchase 4 years ago, so that would put it as 2016 I think I got it, from eBay. I think I paid about 80 quid for that. Then this is another 5-star super Zin. This is an 18-inch ride. This is another of my £25 cymbals, bought in the early 90s when no one was interested in having it. Slightly darker in tone. The bell isn't so good on this. You'll note I normally play with timbali sticks. I prefer the lighter stick. Tama used to make these fabulous sticks, the 212, which came with a long and short acorn, so it's the 212L or the 212S. But they stopped making them through the 90s because I think I was the only person who ever bought them. But Tama, if you're listening, I know you're not, but please make them again, or make kind of timbali sticks with acorns on, because they're just wonderful to play. So I'm using some Meinl ones here. I think these the 5/16. So anyway, that's a 5-star Super Zin 18-inch crash, no 18-inch ride, and then I have a Sabian 18-inch China. Got from my very good friend Steve McMurray, also known as Smack, from whom this was also got. And then this was a recent purchase. It's a completely unmarked 14-inch crash. Which I only got in the last 6 months, in the dying embers of 2020. It's sitting just at the edge there. I don't think it's been hit much in the recording that I've been recently doing, but it's nice enough. So for recording, I have been using, I have 7 of these AKG 518 ml condenser mics, so they're mounted on all the toms, and they are very nice condenser mics that pick up everything I want. And also on the snare at the side, I have an ISK what does it call itself? A TDM3. I got the idea from Simon Phillips, as it goes, for I don't like, never seen the point of putting a microphone underneath a snare drum, because all you get is a nasty rattle with no dynamic to it. But this is here to help with picking up when you're sticking like that. But also, even without that, it does bring an extra bit of body to the snare sound, where this is picking up a lot of top. So that's what I'm using at the moment. On the hi-hat, I have another ISK drum mic. It's just one of their small condensers that does the job perfectly well for what I want. Above, just here, I have a pair of Behringer C2 condenser mics as overheads. I shall just walk around. The kick drum, which I didn't talk about, I have no idea what brand it was, but I didn't strip this. I just left it as the black that it is. You can see that it is old and fairly knackered, but it makes a pleasant sound. And I bought an ISK set of drum mics some years ago, and so I'm still using bits of it. And so that's their kick mic that does nicely. I have just put a towel in there. It's a Tesco blue hand towel, if anyone would like to know exactly what it was. But this is a 16-inch kick, which I hope all this moving about doesn't make you too dizzy, but gives a pleasant enough sound. And then further out, I have 2 Red 5 RVD, are they RVD5, RVD6? RVD6 large diaphragm condensers. I have a few of these mics. I find them very good for just about anything really. I use them quite a lot with vocals. I find they give a a really nice, clear, airy top end. And also further away, just over there, contrast isn't terribly good on this camera for picking it up, I have a super lux large diaphragm condenser that's just picking up ambient sound. So from here, it's some distance from the kit, and this is a spare room in the house where I live. My flat is within this house. It's not designed as a recording studio, but gives kind of quite a nice live sound. I have some old duvets put up just to soak a bit of the sound, and there was a Super King mattress hanging about as well, so I've put that into service. I noticed that I've now been talking for about a quarter of an hour, so I'm not the greatest soloist, but I shall also be recording a solo from various camera angles so you can get a feel for what the kit is like to play and how it sounds. Thank you very much.